massive thank you to this week's sponsor, Touchstone Essentials, Pure Body Extra, Natural, Nano-Sized Zeolite, Advanced Daily Cellular Detox. Normally, this remarkable detoxifier sells on their website for $79.95. Touchstone said they'd offer it to our viewers for just $5 to help them get started with their heavy metal detox. So make sure to click the link in the description below to get access to this offer. And again, a massive thank you to Pure Body Extra for sponsoring this week's video. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of February 20th, 2022. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. It is a remarkable astrological week, without a doubt. Big moves happening in the sky now. I think of this week as moving in a direction that seems rather idealistic and seems rather dreamy before we get a wake-up call of sorts. Now, all of this sense of a bit of a roller coaster, right? The dream before feeling as if very quickly we are shaken awake in some way. Well, it's really setting the stage for next week. And so to give you a little bit of a heads up, next week is an important one. Not only are we going to have a new moon, but we're also going to have Venus leave shadow, Venus and Mars both meeting Pluto in the sky. And so a lot of these larger lessons that we've been engaged in as part of the larger Venus retrograde season that really we've been in since the middle of November. That was when Venus went into shadow, officially went retrograde in the middle of December, went direct at the end of January. Well, those lessons and the culmination of them is right around the corner. But for a week like this, it's the more dreamy, hopeful part of the Venus retrograde season that is going to be highlighted and amplified that much more because Mars is in the mix as well. Now, as we begin the week, both Mars and Venus are traveling close together, and it will be over the course of Wednesday and Thursday that first Mars and then Venus will reach out and connect in harmony with Neptune. Now, Venus is used to this alliance as part of the larger Venus retrograde season. She has connected with Neptune before in early December, in early January. These were the last times that Venus connected in harmony with Neptune. And so now that hopeful, dreamy, idealistic energy of what love could be gets an energy of adrenaline, and I would even say passion as well. Venus and Mars continuing to travel close is a very passionate energy, and a lot of us want love, want to believe in love, and want to in some way be fully immersed in love. That desire, that fantasy can have us feeling very swept up in a moment, very swept up off our feet. But ultimately, it is going to be these energies that give way to important developments related to Mercury. It will be on Thursday that Mercury will leave shadow and immediately move on Friday to connect with Uranus. Now, if you think back, it was in the middle of January that Mercury officially went retrograde. And while Mercury was standing still in the sky, gearing up to change directions, gearing up to go retro, was hanging out in a square formation with Uranus. Even though these planets didn't connect exactly, the energy of awareness and surprise and frustration and information that feels perhaps unexpected, but also in some ways enlivening, but also in some ways frustrating. Well, that was part of the characteristic as we move through the middle of January in particular. Well, now is going to be the time when Mercury finally connects exactly with Uranus just as Mercury leaves shadow. And this is going to be an important one. In an instant, a lot of the uncertainty or questions, or maybe even where we didn't realize there was confusion, there were questions, well, all of that becomes clear in an instant. Some of us are going to be enthralled by the answers, are going to feel enlivened, are going to feel ready to take action, and there will be a flurry of activity. But others out there may find whatever truth is revealed at this time to be frustrating, to be uncertain, to feel as if it leaves us up in the air and not really knowing where it is that we are meant to go next, what information we can count on, what information we can rely on. Consider this as well, that Aquarian energy, well, that has to do with information. It has to do with social media, reaching the masses. Mass media is covered here as well. And so for the collective, we may see lights come on in some way, where what was suspected now starts to become very clear with Mercury going direct. But it is, of course, Mercury that also connects us to what we're thinking about, what we're curious about, what we understand on a mind level, how we perceive. And I do think all of us are going to find ourselves quite surprised at how perhaps we had a certain perception, a certain way of looking at things. And then all of a sudden, we may realize that a part of what we were perceiving, a part of what we were thinking, was actually rooted in our own hopes, our own wishes, our own desires, our own obsession in some cases. Remember, a part of this Mercury retrograde season was the way that Mercury was just hanging out in the sky with Pluto as we ended January, as we entered February. And so now it's almost as if this energy stands in contrast. What we were turning over again and again in our minds, what we were aching for, what we were longing for, in an instant looks different. And in an instant, as new information comes in, or at the very least a new realization comes in, we see things very differently than we did before. Now, the way in which these energies this week will play together, right, will correspond, I think is rather remarkable. Because remember, everything that takes place in the sky, it has a certain perfection to it. It happens one after the other after the other. And there is a divine dance that maybe isn't always apparent right away. Sometimes we think that events are taking place in one area and we compartmentalize them. But the truth is, it's all part of an integrated and holistic whole. That is how life is lived, where we're able to focus on practical matters, but also learn spiritual lessons in the process. We're able to consider where we are in love and also learn something about our ability to use our minds analytically. We're able to learn something about our ability to manifest wonderful things that help fuel self-respect, but also consider the powerlessness that comes from allowing love in. I'm reminded as I look at the sky this week of a book that I read many years ago. It is by James Hollis. It's called The Eden Project, In Search of the Magical Other. Now, this book is published by Inner City Books, and Inner City Books is a great label. They publish books by Jungian analysts, and there was a period of time, many, many years ago, where I was a nut. I was a fan of Inner City Books. I bought so many of these little books, and found them so rich and so helpful. And so as I was looking at the sky today, I thought about that particular book by James Hollis, In Search of the Magical Other, considering the sky and what is playing out right now, and especially with Neptune involved, there is an ache for the magical other. Now, what does that mean? There are different ways in which we pursue connections with other people that are varied, right? But on some level of our psyche, it is possible that we may be looking to another person to fulfill a role or a function that perhaps isn't necessarily what relationships are about. And so the magical other can take many different forms, right? It can take the form of wanting someone to rescue us. Now, rescue us can take a literal connotation, of course, right? From our circumstances, from difficulties. But it's also rescues of different kinds, from our own boredom, mainly from our own work. But of course, that never really works. At some point, we do have to move beyond whatever healing or hope we may have had in this person to rescue us from ourselves or our boredom or our insecurities, and instead look at them as they actually are, an actual human being, flawed and on their own spiritual journey, just like us. there is something very powerful that happens when we allow ourselves to release that expectation that this person is going to be the magical other, whatever magic it is that we're looking for. The magic of healing, the magic of hope, the magic of transforming our circumstances in some way. And what becomes magical instead is acceptance. The acceptance of this other person in all of their imperfections can also lead to the acceptance of self, your own imperfections as well. And that's part of the higher hope that relationships do promise. Yes, relationships can be profoundly healing and profoundly meaningful. Now, of course, there are some fantasies that are important to have, that are actually good to have, because they allow us to love again. They allow us to try again. They allow us to have faith that there is love in the world for us. And absolutely there is. And so all this Mars, Neptune, Venus, Neptune energy, well, it is inviting us to be more open to love, more open to the possibilities, more believing in transformation and healing that can allow a deeper love to take place. At its best, this is energy of compassion. Compassion towards yourself, wherever it is that your journey in love has taken you so far and where it may go next. Now, keep in mind, Venus isn't just about love. It's also about social graces. It's about joy and pleasure. And it has to do with prosperity in terms of knowing that you're worthy of prosperity. With Mars traveling with Venus right about now, these lessons of this larger Venus retrograde season that you, as part of your own unique journey, have been in, well, all of that can feel very accelerated as we move towards the middle of the week. Neptune now may invite you to bring compassion towards yourself as you continue to learn these lessons along a spiritual journey that we call life. I wanted to mention another thing here as I look at the sign, because remember, with all of these signs taking place of dreamy energy, hopeful energy, compassionate energy, of Neptune, Mars, Venus, ultimately this is all leading to Mercury out of shadow, Mercury square Uranus. This is all leading to a moment where it is an aspect that is characterized by a breaking of illusion. In an instant, we see the truth. In an instant, we see through our desires, our fantasy, our hope, and we're able to get to some clarity. And that clarity may be uncomfortable. That clarity may be frustrating, but it is necessary. A key concept in Jungian psychology is individuation. Now, individuation is considered one of the goals of psychoanalytic therapy that you may engage in with a Jungian analyst. But it's essentially this idea, and put very simply, that you're no longer ruled by your subconscious. You're no longer ruled by the shadow within you. And the shadow is essentially the things that you deny are a part of you. And so all of us, just like we have all of the sky within, last week I was explaining how if you look at your chart, you look at where it is that Pisces falls in the chart, all of us have each of the signs within us. And whenever the sun changes signs, a different area of our life is highlighted. That sign within our own chart starts to become amplified in some way, asks for our attention, brings awareness. And so in this way, just like the entirety of the sky is within us, really all of the human experience, right, and the world that we've created, that we've co-created together, all of it is within each of us on a level of psyche and on a level of soul. There's a saying that says there's a bit of good in the worst of us, and there's a bit of bad in the best of us. And to me, that describes this idea of the shadow, of those parts of us that maybe we don't always want to acknowledge are actually within. Well, with individuation, you become aware of those parts, so you're no longer controlled by them. You're no longer just responding to every stimuli that comes along, not realizing that it's your subconscious that's having those reactions, and therefore you making those choices of acting the way that you do creates the life that you have. But you're able to bring consciousness to that journey. You're constantly engaged with an understanding of your environment, of what's coming at you, but you're able to take ownership for your reactions and explore them. as part of your subconscious, as part of your shadow, as part of what's within you. And from there, you're able to integrate those parts that you deny and whom it is that you know yourself to be. And that's not to say that if you've always been an ethical person, that all of a sudden you decide not to be ethical at all. That's not to say that at all. It's just that you're able to acknowledge, like, hey, this is something that human beings choose. You will make a different choice. And that's powerful. To be able to observe your own reactions, to not be at the whim of every stimuli, is a powerful way to live. It is a more conscious and therefore more rewarding way to live. And so I look at these energies this week, and there's this sense of being caught up in a dream, caught up in a hope, and then very quickly awareness. Now, these moments of breakthrough can ultimately lead us towards living a more holistic life, a more aware life, a life of our own choosing. But at first, we might need a moment to realize where it is that perhaps we haven't been completely clear, haven't been completely honest with ourselves. This is such a moment. Uranus is always about truth. It is always about honesty. And when we're lucky, which, I like to think we are very often lucky, as the awareness comes, we get to choose a higher path. And that higher path includes, of course, love and wisdom, but that love and wisdom directed towards ourself can be very powerful. And so this week is such an invitation. It's a chance to see ourselves more clearly, to see all the hope that we carried, to see the reality, and to figure out the best way forward. A way forward that is aware, that is holistic, that is integrated, and that is true to ourselves. Uranus is an interesting symbolism. I like to think of Uranus as your ticket to freedom. It shows you where it is that you feel you can really be yourself. And when we have Uranus aspects, regardless of the type of celestial conversation taking place, we're granted an opportunity to get really honest with ourselves about who we are and what we need to feel light, to feel free, to feel more fully like ourselves. And that is always the blessing that any Uranus transit promises. Now, if we embrace the opportunity, then we're able to get to that place of freedom and lightness and authenticity that much more quickly. But of course, it isn't just about, and life isn't just about living true to ourselves. Life is varied. Our motivations are varied, right? Some of us feel like we have responsibilities, we have obligations. Some of us have fears. These are all very healthy and natural parts of being a human being, and balancing it all is important as well. Just like the universe isn't just Uranus, right? The Uranus energy is very important, especially in our modern times as one of the modern planets. But the universe has Saturn as well. And Saturn is about responsibility. It's the freedom that comes through responsibility, not from responsibility. But at least with a sky like this, and at least with a week like this, we're able to gain powerful glimpses into what it is that might allow us to truly feel like ourselves. Now, a side note here, just like last week I invited you to look at your chart and look at where Pisces is, I'm going to invite you now to look at your chart and look at where Uranus is in your chart. Very simple, right? You can see all the planets in any given chart. I'll put up a sample here of some celebrity. And so you look at where Uranus is, and that house, that area of life is an area where wherever it is that you feel stuck, whenever it is that you feel stagnant or not growing or not really in touch with what it means to be true to yourself, pay attention to that area of life. Look at how it is you could feel more like you just in that area of life. It'll free up all the energy in the chart that much more. It'll get you in touch with your authenticity, and that is something that is with you throughout your lifetime. Look at the sign that Uranus is in, because sign represents an energy that part of your soul expresses itself as. The planets are a part of the soul. The sign is the clothing that part of your soul wears, and the house of the chart is the area of life. So now look at the sign of your Uranus, right? You're going to share that with your generation. Uranus changes signs about once every 7 years. So there's this chunk of time where everybody born within that 7-year period has the same Uranus sign. Well, for your generation, chances are freedom looks a particular way, feels a particular way. And so look at the sign placement. Where is it that in acting like that sign, you feel like you're being more authentically you? That's another powerful way to tap into your chart consciously as well. And in this way, just by being conscious of your chart and thinking about how you could be proactive with considering how the chart is perfect, it's exactly what it is that you need it to be, to do all the wonderful things that you were created to do in a higher, more loving vision for your life. If you start tapping into the chart consciously, that in turn fuels tapping into all of your life with greater intention and consciousness as well, ensuring that your life becomes that much more of your own choosing, that much more rewarding and true to you. What I love about this week for us, well, look, there's a lot here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Look, we've got this very dreamy, romantic, and passionate energy, I have to say. Many of us may find ourselves very swept up in a moment, making promises, accepting promises, believing in miracles. And that's a beautiful thing, right? Believing in miracles is a sure way to spot them, and that's great. But then there's another gift as well that the universe offers us, and that is clarity. That is truth. That is rationality. That is the ability to see through illusion. Illusions are beautiful. They fuel imagination. They allow us to create incredible lives, to produce beautiful ways in which to connect with other people. But there are moments when the truth can be jarring, but it is more beautiful than any story we might weave. And so, yes, we have all of that on offer now. Imagination, clarity, insight, frustration, but also authenticity. That's the great gift of a week like this, where it is that perhaps we haven't been honest with ourselves, where it is perhaps that we've been kidding ourselves, where it is perhaps we've been only willing to look at a thing a certain way. In an instant, things could look very different. But as we see them differently, remember, they have their own truth to it as well. And that truth is a tremendous and beautiful freedom, allowing us to be more fully ourselves than we knew before. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys. And to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I thank you for it. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff this week speaks to you and your sign, log on to NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where for as low as just $3 a month with Choose Your Membership rate, you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week for each and every sign. Now, higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity, university events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space. I look forward to meeting you there. Synchronicity University has some incredible classes and events coming up very soon. Some of them are choose your tuition rate for only like another week. So I hope that you will join us for as low as just $5 a class. Well, let me start with my own classes coming up this week. I am going to be teaching Vesta, the fire within, looking at this goddess asteroid. Well, that's going to be a whole lot of fun together. And also later on this winter, we are going to have classes on the sun in the Astrology Chart, more on the ascendant and the midheaven, and so much more. I hope that you'll join us. Single classes are now available. Classes with me at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the one and only Cameron Allen teaching medical astrology, a holistic approach as only he can. Now, Cameron Allen is brilliant. You've seen him on my channel before. He is a herbalist and astrologer, and he truly does bring a brilliant and holistic perspective. I know that his sharing of his skills with me has been such a blessing as well, as you can actually see in the interview that I did with him recently here on my channel. And so right now, and only for about another week, you can choose your rate, your tuition rate, for as low as just $5 a class, which is an unheard of rate to learn from the likes of the incredible and one and only Cameron Allen. I feel so blessed by his brilliance. He's taught at Synchronicity University before, and so many people have benefited from his wisdom, his insights, and I know that as many people are signing up for his course now, will continue to feel blessed by the wisdom that he shares. And so again, for just about another week until the end of February, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class to learn from the one and only Cameron Allen, medical astrology, a holistic approach at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. Synchronicity University presents the March 2022 speaker series featuring some of the most brilliant astrologers alive today. If you sign up before the end of February 2022, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class. Boy, is it such a joy and pleasure to present these speaker series with you guys. You get a chance to really be introduced to some amazing astrologers or learn from really brilliant and renowned astrologers as well, all on the same ticket as part of the same speaker series. And the March 2022 speaker series really is no exception. And so what do we have here? We've got the one and only Zamboni Funk that you've seen on my channel as of late. And Zamboni Funk is going to be looking at the Mercury retrogrades of 2022. And this is not his first time at Synchronicity University, so I know we're going to enjoy his class so very much. We are going to have my friend Kira Sutherland teaching on the connection between the first and the sixth house and understanding your health differently. Again, a beautiful and renowned astrologer in the field of astrology of health. So I hope you'll join us for that as well. My friend Terry Maitofer. Now, Terry is a medium. Her skills have blessed my life so much during a major time of transition just over a year ago. And I'm so glad that she's now going to be coming to Synchronicity University and teaching mediumship through the signs. So I think that's going to be a wonderful and experiential class that a lot of people are going to benefit from. My friend Tara All is the co-author of the book Astrology by Moonlight. And this is looking at the moon in relation to other planets in your chart. Moon phases, really a unique perspective. And I think it's going to be such a wonderful and insightful class, a whole new way to look at your chart. So this will be an exciting opportunity to learn from someone truly brilliant with a really wonderful book that I found so insightful, so intriguing. And finally, my friend, Laura Van Zatem. Now, Laura is going to introduce us to esoteric astrology, help us to really understand it and how the planets are understood differently and so much more. Laura is brilliant. She and I, when we get together, we put our nerd hats on together, and it is just a ridiculous amount of fun, as you probably saw in the interview I published with her recently. So I hope that you will check her out as well. And all of these amazing speakers, remember, if you sign up before the end of February, which is just about a week away, you can choose your tuition rate as low as just $5 a class, which is an unheard of rate to get this quality of speakers. And of course, this is part of what Synchronicity University is famous for, making classes truly accessible to the masses and to as many people as possible. So I truly hope that you'll join us. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun at synchronicityuniversity.com. Link is in the description below. And finally, the International Academy of Astrology is going to be hosting my class on Pluto in Aquarius and what that means for the collective and what that means for each sign. I'm truly looking forward to this class. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun, taking place March 19 as part of some big Jubilee event that they have going. You can sign up just for my class or for a class packet, but you can check out the links in the description below. But yes, I'm going to be looking at Pluto and Aquarius. I've had a lot of new thoughts to consider as well that I think is going to be a lot of fun. I've been tweaking the class again and again because I just feel like there's so much to share. And of course, I'll also make sure to go through each of the signs as well. As much as we're going to look at the collective, I want to be sure that we touch on each of the signs so you understand how it is that Pluto in Aquarius could bring profound transformation to a new area of life for you based on your sun sign or your rising sign. So I hope that you'll join us. Check it out. There are a lot of brilliant classes coming up as part of this very special event on March 19th of this year. And again, link is in the description below. And finally, I do want to give a shout out to the amazing people behind the Empath Effect. Now, this is a book that's available on Amazon, and I'll link to it in the description below as well. I'm not affiliated with this book, but a lovely person that I know, Kelly, has written a story in this book, and she told me about this, and I mentioned it. I shared it with you guys because I was just so proud of her. And then Alicia McBride, who is the goddess behind this book, I think she would be the editor of the stories and things. Well, anyways, she said some very lovely things about me, and I'm so very grateful for that. I will make sure to put it up here on the screen somewhere. But thank you. Thank you to everybody behind the Empath Effect. Of course, I'm very proud of my friend Kelly, but really, this was very, very nice. A little boost that I got on Valentine's Day to read some lovely words about me. So thank you to everybody behind that book. And I know that the book is selling really well. And I hope that you guys will check it out. Even if you just check it out on Amazon and see, it's such an interesting exploration of how empaths interact with the world, practice self-care, and all the wonderful things that a sensitive soul will do as they move through the world. And I think a lot of people out there, myself included, absolutely can relate to this. So I hope that you'll check that out. And thank you again to all the wonderful people behind the Empath Effect, and Alicia in particular. Thank you for your lovely words. I'm grateful for them. And thank you. Thank you everybody out there for watching. Thank you for your continued trust. I'm truly so very grateful for it. We've got an interesting week coming up now, but look, next week, it is really going to be a powerful time. A new moon in Pisces, the culmination, the end of the larger Venus retrograde season with Venus leaving shadow, Venus and Mars connecting with Pluto. Ooh, we got a lot to look forward to there. So welcome the insights now. Welcome the inspiration now as well. Knowing that as part of the perfection of the universe, it's all leading us towards a deeper sense of self-knowledge, a deeper sense of truth. And hopefully that means a life that feels that much more authentically lived for each and every one of us. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.